Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chef Sebastian Carosi, better known as the short order cannabis revolutionary. I'm here on Just Farms, here in Ridgefield, Washington, enjoying this hugely tropical smell. I'm surrounded by Sour Tsunami, a strain that's huge in CBD, a little low in THC, but the medicinal value is huge for those in need. Join me, cooking with cannabis around the world.
My name's Philip Just at Just Farms, out here with Chef Sebastian Carosi, taking a look at the farm. That's just_farms on Instagram. Hopefully by the end of the day, the chef can make up some good times and some good food out of what we have going on back here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bluntness. I'm Chef Sebastian Carosi, better known as the short order cannabis revolutionary. I've been cooking with cannabis and eating the devil's lettuce since the early 90s. Today, I'm going to make heirloom tomato toast with cannabis-infused bacon fat. Yeah, you heard me. Cannabis-infused bacon fat. Although it's wildflower season here in the Pacific Northwest, it's also Croptober and heirloom tomato season. So let's get these toasts made. And I want to say thank you to the Bluntness for having me on. And we're going to start off by explaining this cannabis-infused bacon fat. It's really simple. I have an MB2E botanical extractor from Magical Butter. And I have some rendered bacon fat. I have some, actually 2 grams I use to make a batch. My batch is really simple. It's 3 cups of bacon fat, rendered bacon fat, preferably from an Applewood smoked bacon, so you have all that flavor, and 2 ounces of decarboxylated sun-grown cannabis. It can be grown indoors, but for full medical benefits for me, I truly believe in sun-grown if possible. And I don't really smoke flower anymore. I tend to smoke concentrates, and I know they're probably grown indoors as well. So 2 ounces, 3 cups of bacon fat, decarboxylated. My decarboxylation temperature, if you guys don't know, without decarboxylation, there is no intoxication or medication, I like to say. With that said, I'm going to go about 250 degrees internally for 35 to 40 minutes. That right there will decarb enough THC, CBD, CBG, and CBN, and a bunch of the other alphabetical medicinal compounds that we find in cannabis, and make them readily available for my body to be able to ingest, especially my endocannabinoid system. So I put that all in the Magical Butter machine. I hit about 160 for 1 hour, and it will come out. I strain it through a fine micron strainer, and I get this lovely cannabis, sun-grown cannabis infused bacon fat to use in any application. So when I did get this done, you know, a lot of people are saying they want to know about proper dosage, potency, so on and so forth. And there's this lovely little device called a T-Check. And this is an at-home cannabis potency testing kit. And basically it'll test butter, coconut oil, olive oil, alcohol, and there's an expansion kit for this T-Check that will also allow you to check dried flower and concentrates of any kind. It's really easy to use. You just drop the sample on there, put it into your T-Check, look at your cell phone. On your cell phone, it'll tell you the potency. It'll tell you THC, CBD, THCA, I believe. So the T-Check comes in really handy for testing levels of potency after I've made this bacon fat, because, so we'll get on to this toast now, and the Smoky bacon fat mayonnaise is about, I'll go through the ingredients really quick. It's a half cup of infused bacon fat, 1 tablespoon of chipotle adobo, which is just the contents of a can of chipotles in adobo pureed, 1.5 cups of mayo, 6 drops of Fairwinds cannabis sriracha. This is the shit, you guys. I hope you didn't have to bleep that out, but we are on the Bluntness. 1 drop of limonene terpenes from True Terpenes, and a half cup of bacon bits. Since we use the bacon fat in this, and it is bacon fat mayonnaise, you're not going to have to worry about any vegetarian issues with this. So just add the damn bacon in there, okay? So let's get started with this. The recipe is for 5 toasts. The rest of the ingredients is 5 slices of sourdough, 3 to 4 medium heirloom tomatoes, 1.5 to 1 cup of smoked bacon fat mayonnaise, which we're making right here, 1 tablespoon of Jacobsen sea salt. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm at, and we're afflicted with these fires, you gotta use Jacobsen sea salt, basically gold. Hey Ben Jacobsen, hope you're doing well. The flake on this and the mineral content is just phenomenal. This is basically Pacific Ocean water that's been taken and reduced down into saline like Lewis and Clark did, and then into salt. A little bit of fresh cracked pepper and a tablespoon or so of coriander seeds that are fresh. Now, we're in October. The coriander seeds from this recipe are when the first of the heirloom tomatoes come on. So I have a substitute, and this is wild fennel pollen. This grows all over the Columbia River out here in my area. So I'm going to definitely use the wild fennel pollen on my toast instead of the green coriander seeds. And I don't know about you, but I like some color to my toast. You know what I'm saying? Don't be scared to give it some color because you got bacon fat on there. So that's completely acceptable. Don't get all worried. You're putting some thick cut, juicy tomatoes on there, and that's really what you want. You want the, you know, in Spain they have a dish, tapas, famous tapas dish, where it's just a toasted piece of bread and then it's rubbed with a ripe tomato, and that's it. They just eat it like that. It's so amazing. This is a California-based toast, as you all know. The ubiquitous California avocado toast started this whole toast thing. But in other countries, they have tartines and so on and so forth. So let's make this smoky bacon fat mayonnaise. I'm going to make a small version because it's just Carla and I. We only want 2 toasts. I'm not going to make the full 5. So I'm going to take, I have a little bit of mayonnaise, and if you don't use Duke's, you're going to hell, man, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to add a little bit of the chipotle adobo. We don't want ours too spicy, but we don't mind spiciness. I'm going to add some of the bacon fat, bacon bits. Sorry about that. I'm also going to add some of the cannabis infused bacon fat because that's what we want in there. And then I'm just going to give it a nice little mix. Oh, and don't forget that Fairwinds Sriracha to kick the THC levels up. This is a sativa Sriracha made from Fairwinds. Some really good friends of mine here in the Pacific Northwest, in the Washington I-502. I believe heavily in everything that they do. So we've got our nice smoky bacon fat mayonnaise. And if you want to add a little bit more bacon fat, by all means, I'm gonna add a little bit more just to balance it out. Especially on Carla's toast, we want to get her really nice and medicated. I'm gonna put the adobo away. And I hope I was explaining everything to everybody to where they can explain it about the decarboxylation. And the reason why we're using bacon fat again is because cannabinoids really like to attach themselves and travel through our bodies in fats. And so that's definitely the reason why we're using this bacon fat today. All right. I have a few not so well looking hemp leaves, actually cannabis leaves. This is Lemon OG, that were outside. It's wildfire season. So these are smoky, fresh cannabis leaves. And we're going to be using these because we truly believe in the THCA and CBDA that's readily available in raw cannabis leaves. And the vegetable-based protein, unparalleled. Nothing on the planet comes close to the amount of readily available plant and vegetable-based proteins that is in a cannabis or hemp leaf. All right, so we got 2 pieces of toast. Mine's the darker one. We got our bacon fat mayonnaise. We've got our heirloom tomatoes, and I don't know if you can see the array here. It is tomato season here in the Pacific Northwest. I've got a mix of everything from Stupice, Bloody Butchers, Cherokee Purples, brandy wines, gold medal, the list goes on and on. When I had my organic farm several years ago, I grew 64 different heirloom tomatoes. So we're going to get this going. We're going to get a nice little platter. We broke out the vintage platter. We like that vintage china. And I'll slice them. I'm going to get a little bacon fat mayonnaise on the toast. Don't be shy. There's more mayonnaise than bacon fat. And what is not better than a sliced heirloom tomato sandwich with bacon fat mayonnaise? It's almost like a BLT, but not a BLT. It's missing the other bread. I'm going to put a few of these smoked cannabis leaves down on there because, like I said, we really like the abilities to our bodies to soak up some THCA, CBDA, so on and so forth. These should be a regular part of your diet. If you've got plants growing, you should really have these incorporated in your diet because, like I said, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal protein. I'm going to put these on the plate. I'm going to give myself a nice little area to slice these tomatoes. These tomatoes are mighty nice, mighty nice. And the amount of tomatoes is basically up to you. I just like to have a good array of every kind and color. Sometimes the dark, ooh, there's a nice ripe one. There's a nice ripe one right there too. And the shapes and stuff that you cut them is realistically up to you. But just make sure you cut them thick. You definitely want them thick. Have a nice sharp knife. And I'm sorry, I know we're on camera, but when you start slicing up heirloom tomatoes and you have Jacobsen sea salt and some fresh ground pepper around, I wash my hands like 6 times. So I'm going to do this. Unbelievably ripe. Right out of the garden. We picked these yesterday. We picked them in the moonlight too, which is really awesome because being out in the garden in the fire season right now in the Pacific Northwest is kind of, you get to see a bunch of different crazy things happening, you know. So I also have these little tiny ones because we love the taste of these little tiny poppers, little sunbursts, some little greens. So basically it's about the tomatoes and the bacon fat. So it's like a BLT. The L is the cannabis leaves, of course. I'm just going to slap a mixture and an array of tomatoes on each one of these toasts. Oh my goodness. I'm already liking this. Already thoroughly liking the way this is looking. And I know all the tweezer chefs can get out all their tweezers and stuff right now and get the old fancy tomatoes stuff going on. But I'm just going to stick them on there because I just can't get enough of the heirlooms. I'm going to give my station a little white because we got some tomato juice going. And then we definitely need to give it a shot of some of this Jacobsen sea salt. And don't be shy. It's really up to you. This is not ionized. This is not anything. This is evaporated seawater from the Pacific Northwest. You can find Ben at any good fine store anywhere around, and definitely all the way down to California. A few grinds of pepper, fresh ground pepper. Carla likes extra pepper, so we always do a little extra pepper for her. Since she runs that camera, we can't forget about it now, can we? And what else do we got on here? Oh, we're going to use the fennel pollen. Now, I'm going to sprinkle the fennel pollen on there, but I'm also going to talk about a few other things that we can put on there really quick. This fennel pollen is beautiful, and this was around the areas that Lewis and Clark was camping in. The licorice flavor and nuances, basically terpenes that are coming off of this, are so rich. This does contain some alpha-pinene and limonene, so that's definitely why I chose the True Terpenes limonene to go in here. Plus, it brightens up all the other flavors. Fennel pollen, if you haven't found it as an ingredient, you really need to grab onto it, especially in any pork dishes and any vegetarian dishes, from pasta, vegan dishes, all the way down. A little mascarpone, a little caramelized fennel, and a little bit of this fennel pollen in there. That's done. That's dinner for the night. But we're here to talk about heirloom tomato toast with bacon fat mayonnaise, right? So I already gave it a little dose of the fennel pollen. Now, if you want, you could drizzle a little bit. This is not on this recipe because we already have some cannabinoids into our bacon fat, but you can drizzle. This is cannabis olive oil that I made, extra virgin olive oil. I made this in the magical butter machine, really simple. You can drizzle a little bit of that over it. You can put a little extra sriracha from Fairwinds on there if you'd like. You can also put, we make this. This is locally grown hemp hearts, and I make this all the time because we like to use it on our avocado toast. But you could also do a little bit of this. This is toasted hemp heart everything bagel sprinkle. You know what I'm saying? That would be also great on it. You could drizzle some canna honey on there from Be Delightful. If you want a really, really big kick of THC and a low level of CBD, Canna Honey from the Real Canna Honey here in Oregon makes this 1,000 milligram THC honey. This is extremely sedative. They call it Elixir. This is, again, one of my favorite products other than this Rescue Bee honey from Cannabis and Be Delightful. So that's realistically it. I'm going to pair this tomato toast with, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but they are pretty. Nice, simple tomato toast with the hemp leaves or cannabis leaves, whatever you choose on there. I'm going to pair this with a little, since I live in a legal state, I have recreational cannabis available, and there's a company that does craft cannabis here in the Pacific Northwest, specifically Washington, that's called Scored, S-K-O-R-D. We like to say, I scored. This is a lemon shortbread, and again, the lemon aspects. We used limonene in here. So this lemon shortbread from Scored is just pumping with terpenes that follow the same profile. Like I said, I don't smoke a lot of flower, but when I do, I try to smoke the craft. Low production flower where people are really, really into what they're doing. Artisan, as I like to call it. Other people call it artisanal, I guess. But I tend to leave the artisanal towards the wells and water and the artisan in my craft cannabis, tomatoes, and other products. So I really appreciate you guys joining me here on the Bluntness. This is Smoky Bacon Fat Mayo Heirloom Tomato Toast. I don't know if you can see it well, but we are going to tear it up. It's deliciously ready to eat. Smoke a little bit of this Scored and eat our tomato toast. I want to say thanks to Audrey Bracco for having us on the Bluntness. I really appreciate everybody doing this. And remember, I'm Chef Sebastian Carosi, the short order cannabis revolutionary. You guys should always, always, always make sure your cannabis is clean, free of mycotoxins, heavy metals, molds, and residual solvents. Know that your cannabis was grown organically. We spend the time to grow this food properly. Cannabis is an agriculture, and hemp, for that matter, whichever plant you want to exploit the compounds of, whether it's CBD or THC. It's an agricultural crop like these tomatoes are. So for me, it's kind of a natural that cannabis, food products, and the ingestion of cannabis are made readily available. I like to keep my cannabis pantry full of different varieties of things to use. I make cannabis vinegar in my magical butter machine. I know it doesn't have any fats in it, and it's hard for a lot of the cannabinoids to bind to it, but the particulate matter, it happens. There are cannabinoids that follow through in the vinegars. I make all sorts of oils, from olive oils to avocado oils. I make things like salves, coconut oils. I try to stay away from the MCT oil because it isn't as full as what I'd like it. That regular coconut oil or bacon fat really gives me the binding agents that I need in the culinary world for cannabis. Join me probably here again on the Bluntness, maybe real soon. We'll be cooking up some other things. My premise with food is clean cannabis consumption through food will lead us to some healthy benefits in our minds and our body. Thanks again for joining me here on the Bluntness. I'm Chef Sebastian Carosi, better known as the Short Order Cannabis Revolutionary.